Hi, it's an exciting day because I've got a new damaged car repair project, as you can see behind me there in the garage. So without further ado, let's get it out here and I can show you what some of the obvious issues are with the car. Okay, so we've had the artistic intro to my crash damaged BMW, but now let's have an in-detail look at the good bits, the bad bits that are going to need some work, and anything else that's interesting about the car. Okay, so we've all seen this front corner damage, and we're not going to know any more until I start stripping this down, so that's going to be the first job and we'll come back to that. But what else is there to see on the car? Well, if you look on this front corner of the bumper, this part that isn't damaged, you can see that this had a front splitter on it made by KSB. Obviously that's toast now, but it did look quite nice. So when I replace this bumper, maybe I'll have to look for another aftermarket item to give that similar look. Of course, we've got our black wheels because it's a Shadow Edition car. This is interesting because these calipers, I don't know much about these M135s, but I do know that normally this would be blue. Not sure about the yellow. I don't know what you guys think. Have to think about whether to keep that or change it back to blue or maybe go for a different colour. But as we move down the side of the car, you can see that there's a side skirt running all the way along the underneath of the car as well. And I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I didn't know it was an aftermarket item. I just thought, you know, with it being the top of the range car with the sportiest body, that this came with it as standard. Obviously the things that have got emblems on, you know, like the KSB, I could see those had been added. But this one has no badges or emblems on it at all, so I just thought, oh, they all come like that. But someone at the local car cafe told me, no, the bodies on these cars are really boring. And anybody who's really into the scene, you know, modifying and tuning them, they always do something to the underbody because it makes them look sportier. So I quite like it, but let's keep moving. So as you can see, mine's the 5-door car. And I know the 3-door car is more sporty looking. This is probably less desirable for the young guys who want a sporty performance hatch. But it does make it more practical, you know, so... a little bit easier to get back there, huh? We'll come back to that interior in a minute. So I'm just around the back corner of the car now, and you can see it's like a little mini splitter around the back. So it's only on this corner and well, on the other corner as well, but it doesn't run all the way underneath. I quite like it. I might have liked it more if whatever it was continued further, but that's okay. Again, no branding, so no idea who made these. They're actually really simple as well. They're just kind of like hollow underneath, so they're just like a formed piece of plastic really. And they're glossy black rather than the sapphire black that the paintwork is, but I think it kind of works. While we're back here, we might as well just pop this boot up and have a little inspection. And you can see all sorts of broken junk has been thrown back here. Well, it might not be junk. You know, this here looks like a duct maybe from that front corner, so it might live again, that thing. And this piece of trim, although it's dirty, if it's not all scratched up, then I might be able to use that again as well, so we'll see. Here's the other part to the front splitter. That's smashed away, so yeah, that's no good now. But anyway, a few little bits and bobs in there. One thing to note is that this front left corner, which is the undamaged side, that wheel is completely straight. So the steering wheel is straight on the inside, and as you can see, that wheel's perfectly straight, as it should be. But when we go to the other side, you can see it's towing in quite a lot, so that's definitely turned in quite a lot. And that means that either the tracking's knocked out, or there's suspension damage, or there's some other problem underneath. And we'll delve into that when we go underneath the car in a couple of minutes. But there's still a little bit more to say about this wheel before we do that. Okay, so unsurprisingly, there's a little bit of damage to this wheel. And actually, it looks like it's been touched in. Can you see? You can just see the edges of some paint. So maybe that's been there a while. I just assumed it was as a result of the accident that left this front corner looking like that. But hopefully that'll refurbish okay. So even though it's only minor, I will be sending this in for a refurbish. Can you see how low the tyre is? Well, I pumped this up when I received it the other day, and then by the time I've put it in the garage, it's gone right down again. And I had this before on my last Copart car rebuild, which was, I thought that I just had a bad tyre, but it turned out that a knock can crack these wheels really easily. You can have them repaired, and I did have it repaired on my last Project Series car. And I've got a really great local tyre shop who will check for leaks, and they'll spin it up for me to see if it's buckled and all that sort of stuff. So I'll decide how to handle that once I get this wheel off. And speaking of that, whenever you get a salvage car rebuild, you almost never get the locking wheel nut key. So I can't actually get this wheel off at the moment. But again, I have some experience of tackling that sort of an issue. Okay, so you've already seen that the car runs and drives, which is really good news. And of course that means I've got a key. Often with a salvage auction car, you'll only get one key. So I'll have to decide whether to get another one made up and what's the most cost-effective way of doing that. Sometimes you get no keys, and that can be a real pain, you know, just literally getting it unloaded, getting it in your garage and all the rest. I haven't bought one with no keys yet, and I plan to avoid that unless unless it's just too good a deal to pass up. But anyway, the area where you spend all of your time, of course, is inside. And so let's have a little dive in and see what it looks like. Now, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with this interior, because I could see that it was red in the photos on Copart. But it looked like in their photos a really bright red, and I wasn't sure I'd be able to live with it, to be honest. But this is kind of like a really nice dull red, and maybe it's just because it's dirty. So I will be cleaning up these seats. But I really like it, and it continues through the door cards. And of course we've already looked in the back. But it looks really effective in the back as well, you know, because you can see the back of the headrests in here. Of course, it's on the door cards back here as well. But the seats really look nice. It looks a nice place to be, doesn't it? So, and they're actually all in good condition, so they're not all cracked and damaged or splitting or anything like that. The car's got 60,000 miles on it, and it's a 2015, so, you know, it's a few years old. Let's call it 8 years old. But even these bolsters seem to be kind of holding up quite well. This is the one that gets most of the hammer. But even that one, you know, the cushioning is still in good nick. So I think a really good clean will bring these up nicely. So it's on a ramp, but I've got a nice little hop up here. There we go. So let's jump up there and have a look. So it's kind of weird because I've always wanted one of these, but I've never really sat in one. But it looks quite nice. I don't really know what equipment they have with them. I see that it has a bit of a screen here. I'm assuming that this means it has like some kind of cruise control. Now this is interesting because it's a manual 6-speed, which I'm delighted about, but it seems like a lot of people prefer the auto these days, but I like the extra control that a manual gives you. Of course, things are different to what they used to be. It used to be with a manual, you had more control, better handling, it was a little bit faster, better on fuel and all the rest. But these days the autos get better fuel economy and they're faster just because they change gears so quickly. So it's a little bit of a compromise going for the manual. You know, it's going to be less fuel efficient and not as fast, which seems crazy, but it gives you better driver interaction. So that's what I'm after. I'm a bit old school where I still like you know, the old stick shift. Let me know what you think. Would you prefer the auto? I really like this though, so I'm looking forward to driving it. But let's see what else we've got here. So I'm going to get this ignition turned on and then just see what it's telling me, if anything. Oh, okay, service due in 11,000 miles. That's interesting. Of course, headlights aren't working properly. Both of them on that side. The tyre pressure is incorrect, which is what we just talked about. And it's flicked off now, but it was telling me that the battery in the remote control was low, so hopefully that's just a simple job to replace that, so we'll see about that as well. Nothing too much more to report in here. It all looks clean and tidy. some of this kind of metal trim's picked up a little bit of wear by the looks of it. Over here on the center console, you know, it's starting to look a bit tatty. I don't know if that's normal. All of these controls look all right. It seems like some spiders have moved in. So I've got some cobwebs. I don't know how long it is since this car's been run and used. And the other thing is, it smells really strong of air fresheners in here, and it took a bit of searching, but eventually I found them down in the driver's door card here. So my first job's going to be to throw those out. Maybe a few clues about where the car came from. Oh, it looks like auto glim look. Maybe this car has been looked after. Had a bit of interior detailing done. Anyway, I'm going to throw those out. Ah, there's another one down here. The proverbial magic tree. Oh, no, there's another. Mate, no wonder it stinks. Oh, another little tree. Black ice this time. Oh, I really don't like the smell of that one. So 4 air fresheners, which sounds a bit excessive. Scratch that. 5 air fresheners. That's another one to get rid of. It's not really a smoker's car, so it doesn't smell stale in here. So they're not trying to cover up other stinks. They just liked air fresheners, I suppose. The thing about accident damaged cars is eventually you're going to be back on the road, hurtling along it whatever speeds the car is capable of and that you can get away with. And so you need to be sure that it's safe. So when you've got the car up on ramps like this, if you've got a bit of mechanical know-how, it's always a good idea just to have a really good look around just to see if there's anything obvious that's wrong with it. This car isn't due an MOT until the end of the year, so once it's repaired and back on the road, I don't need to take it for an inspection. I'll just be out and driving, you see. So it's up to me to make sure it's safe. So apart from the obvious, which is this front corner, we know the wheel's a bit towed in, but it makes sense just to look for I don't know, a leaking shocker or a broken spring or anything like that. So let's dive under and have a look and make sure all's well. Okay, so this is the front right. So of course I'm checking these aluminium suspension arms. A lot of the M Sport cars have aluminium arms, but what I can say straight away is this is like this steering arm. I'll try and get it so that you can see it how I'm seeing it, but it's bent like a banana there. So I'm pretty sure that's the source of our tracking issue. And these can actually be straightened, so I'll either straighten it if I think it's safe to do so just by heating it up a bit, or I'll replace that. But these arms, the suspension arms, they actually look to be in good condition. So as long as that track rod end, once it's sorted, makes the tracking in the driving how it should be, then there might not be any further action required. You can look all the way up there, and once the wheels are off I'll have a better look, but the spring's looking okay, and the shock is not too rusty, and it's not leaking oil or anything like that. So everything's looking alright at this side, and I can do a similar inspection at the other side. So over here I can see there's a little bit of wear to that lower suspension arm, but it's only minor, so I think that's okay. As you can see, I'm right about the brake calipers being blue in a former life, and it looks like one of the previous owners just sprayed the front of them yellow. So it looks a bit tatty from this side, but it looked okay from outside, I suppose. That spring looks okay, the shocker looks okay, and you can see that steering arm is completely straight on this side. So that's how the other one should look. So I'll need to get this under tray off, because I'm also interested in, you know, are there any leaks or any other problems. But if we turn towards the back now, and the exhaust doesn't look like it's taken a knock or anything like that, and it looks in good condition. Here's the diff at the back. My understanding is these are just an open diff rather than a limited slip one, but that they work quite well. But the drive shaft's look in good condition. There's this underguard under here, so it's a little bit hard to see the suspension on the rear, but maybe I'll pop those off after a bit. But nothing obviously amiss. Again, checking the lower suspension arms, which are the ones that are most likely to be bumped in the event of an accident, you know, against a curb or something like that. So that side's looking okay. This one looks all right. More dodgy spray on the calipers. Yeah, so we can go ahead and scoot out again now and get on with some of the other work, hopefully without banging my head. Let me know when the beam's coming up. Camera came in handy for that. Another thing to say about salvage auction car projects is you almost never get the V5. So whenever I get one of these, I like to go straight to my desk and send off for the V5 because it can take up to 3 to 4 weeks for it to come back. And without the V5 and proof of ownership, etc., it can slow down you getting insurance. So that means if you are able to rebuild the car and get it on the road quickly, you can be waiting around for it. So do the paperwork first. And also, because I know I need that locking wheel nut, I'm going to get that sorted straight away, because I know that I'm going to need that wheel off to have it refurbished, and also to get access to that track control arm and other things that are in that corner of the car that need to be repaired. So that's also a high priority. The first thing you'll need to do is take a nice close-up, well-lit picture of the locking wheel nut that's on your car. And you'll need plenty of light on the job, so that's why I've got this. And I'm just going to take that picture. Time to go to the computer. Here's an example of an eBay seller that specializes in locking wheel nut replacement on BMW cars. And so it's just a case of ordering this, and then hopefully we're good to go. Okay, so as you saw, my locking wheel nut key came through the post this morning, so I might as well get this open. And so in theory, it should just go straight onto this locking wheel nut. Okay, so as you saw, it was just as easy as that. We'll come back to the alloy wheel later on, but let's have a look at getting this bumper off. Crazy BMW double latch system. You have to pull the handle twice, I keep forgetting. There she is, the N55 3 litre straight 6 turbo engine that's fitted into this M135i. One of the greatest engines you can find in a hot hatch these days. And anybody who knows about these engines will know not only are they potent just in stock form, this one's about 320 horsepower, but they have massive tunability. 400 horsepower is like the entry point, and you can go up from there, all on stock internals. It's just crazy. Needless to say, some of that is in my plan for later on in the video series. Anyway, enough of that, we'll get back to the bumper. And the first thing is this rubber strip, which you can see about here. So this rubber strip actually it kind of pops off. So this is the top of the headlight here, and this ridge, you can see there's a bit of shape in the rubber strip. So when I'm ready to put it back on again, it just kind of pushes into place. But anyway, you can literally just start pulling that back. Okay, so next up, with the rubber strip out of the way, we can see these 6 screws that run across the top of the bumper. This is a T30 bit that I've got just in a little screwdriver. So I just got those to undo. I'll get that later. Okay, so as you can see, we're under the front of the car, and that's because I want to get this under tray off. Now it has to come off anyway because it kind of butts up to the bottom of the front bumper, but also I want to jack up this car in the middle on the cross member because I want to put axle stands either side, and then that'll allow me to get the wheels off. Yeah, there's lots of Allen key bolts, and there's lots of, they look like 7 or 8 millimeter screws that all hold this on. There's 4 holes along the front that have no screw in. So whether that's because it's been off before and they haven't been put back again, that's probably it. Sorry, did I say Allen key bits? I meant Torx. I can see the cross member I was looking for, and that's it just there. It's in the middle underneath the engine. And then here, these black pieces that you can see, they're my jacking beam. So I'm just going to get a jack under there, get it lifted up, and then I can get axle stands next to each of the front wheels. On the normal jacking points you would use for your roadside jack. This is just a little 1.5 ton scissor jack that I use. I use it because it's nice and compact for getting under places like this. Okay, so that's more like it. I've got an axle stand each side now. I can get these wheels off, we can get back on with the bumper job. And I'm just going to take this front part of the wheel arch liner out because in some areas it attaches directly onto the bumper. So let's get those screws out. There's just a little sensor which you can just see here. It's probably some kind of outside temperature sensor or something like that. And I'm just going to do a similar job with the wheel arch liner on the driver's side. So, and then just here are a couple of screws that hold the bumper to the wing, so they'll need to come undone as well. And these long screws were what was holding that all together, so now that I've got those off, you can see it's just hanging down now. And now we just need to do exactly the same on the passenger side. And this area here is actually just the front of the chassis arm. So further back the suspension's mounted onto it, but at the front here it just has this plastic trim which comes up against the front of the bumper. There really does seem to be nothing holding this bumper on now, so carefully as we do it. It says, right, I've got it. Now that we've investigated the suspension and gotten that bumper off, it means I need to get out there and find some parts. So unfortunately that means that's it for this episode. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then hit that subscribe button or maybe even give me a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye for now. 3-door is more practical. No, it's not. So that's another one, look. And here we go. It's just popped through the door. Okay, laters.